Gardens of the Moon can be very confusing, so if you didn't understand what happened or if you just want to recap it before reading Deadhouse Gates, then let me catch you up to speed in the next 5 minutes. Spoiler warning, there are detailed spoilers for all events in Gardens of the Moon. In this first book of the Malazan Book of the Fallen book series, we are witnessing the Malaz Empire trying to expand in the continent of Genabakis. We start out with one of our main boys in the book, Paran, discovering the slaughter that the Hounds of Shadow have left behind. These hounds were commanded by Shadowthrone, the god of the Warren of Shadow, and his friend Cotillion, who is also the god and patron of assassins. We later find out that this scene was just a distraction to distract from the fact that Cotillion actually possessed the fisher girl named Sori. Then there is a 2-year time skip and we are now located outside of the city of Pale, a key city on the continent of Genabakis. Flying above the city is the floating sky island of Moonspawn, where the Lord of the Tistandi, Anomander Rake, resides. The Tistandi are an old, non-human race who are tall and black of skin. Rake and his allies aren't actually from Genabakis, but they have allied with the people of Pale and later of Darchihistan because they don't want the continent to fall into the hands of the Malazans as well. After a very long siege, the decision is made to attack Moonspawn with the High Mages, which are the highest magic users of the Malazan Empire. In this assault, the Malazans seemingly succeed because they push Rake and his Moonspawn away from the city, however many of the High Mages fall in battle. Afterwards, there is actually talk of friendly fire happening among the mages, especially against the Imperial High Mage Taishren. Meanwhile, and unbeknownst to the Imperial High Mage Taishren, the Bridgeburners have actually managed to save the dying soul of one of these mages and have then put him into a puppet. The rest of the story plays in and around the city of Darujhistan. We now skip to a different point of view and we are now inside the friend group of Krupe, Krokus and others who are trying to defend Darujhistan from the inside. Krokus is a young thief who is blessed by the god of luck Upon, who earlier actually saved his life. To not repeat the long siege that had taken place at Pale, this time the Malazan army actually wants to proceed differently. So this time the Malazan main army waits in occupied Pale while the Bridgeburner unit infiltrates the city stealthily. Meanwhile, on the Revi Plain, which lies between the two cities, we have Adjunct Lorne getting attacked by Barghast. The Adjunct is pretty much the second most important person in the Empire and it's the left hand of the Empress. In this situation, Lorne gets saved by an assembling Tlanimas, which is also an elder race who can fall into dust, and here it assembled out of its dust form and swiftly fought off the attackers. After this attack, Lorne abandons the plan to go to Darujhistan for now and returns to Pale, where discussion is happening between Taishren, Dujek One Arm and herself. Dujek One Arm is pretty much the commander of the Malazan forces on the continent. In this discussion we find out that indeed it was actually friendly fire that happened and Taishren, on the orders of the Empress, was trying to get rid of the old guard who was still around from the time of the old Emperor. Here Paran gets appointed as captain of the Bridgeburners unit and he also gets assassinated and very nearly dies and only gets saved by the gods of luck Upon. Our boy Paran and the surviving mage from the assault on Moonspawn, Tattersail, then actually get busy together. But this luck doesn't last long and they are then assaulted by a Hound of Shadow who wants to kill the puppet which the Bridgeburners have saved. However, it is fought off and it is wounded by Paran. Tattersail then tries to make her way to Darujhistan, but she doesn't make it because on the way she meets the lover of one of the mages that died, whose name is Beludran, and she gets into a confrontation with him, leading to the death of both. Later, Tok the Younger finds the remains of this battle. However, there seem to be footsteps leading away from the battle, which look to be the ones of a child. The croissant-loving and adorable Krupe, who is actually a magic user of unknown power, then has a fateful dream. Inside this dream, he dreams of an Imaz Bonecaster and the Elder God Krul, and they have all come together to witness the rebirth of Tattersail, fused with Beludran and her lover Nightchill inside a single body. Inside the city, Baruch, the head alchemist of the city of Darujhistan and the leader of its cabal, finds out what the Malazans are planning. The plans of the Malazan is to go to the tomb of an ancient Chakut tyrant, which is just outside of Darujhistan, and then free him and all his power of the ancient race of the Chakut onto Darujhistan and thereby capturing it. Baruch then sends Gruppe, Crocus and others to spy on this plant outside the city. The adjunct and her Tlanimas, who is still with her, then arrive at the tomb and proceed with the plan, even though they have doubts about it. On the way to the ancient tomb, Adjunct Lorne and the Tlanimas find the group of Crocus and the others, and they fight them off and send them back to the city, wounded. And remember that puppet I told you about, which the bridge burners saved? Well, it had now come loose and is running around in the Warren of Chaos, which it wields. It has also dragged our boy Paran into the Warren of Chaos, but now it is being hunted by the Hounds of Shadow, which eventually kill it. The Hounds then want to turn onto Paran because he wounded one of them earlier, but before they can do that, Anomander Rake intervenes. The Hounds are hesitant to attack Anomander Rake, but in the ensuing fight, Rake actually kills 2 of the Hounds with his cursed sword Dragnipur. The sword Dragnipur, which Rake wields, actually captures the souls of the beings he slays with it into the sword itself, which is a realm on its own. The rest of the Hounds are then scared off. Paran then touches the blood and is somehow transported into the warren of the sword of Dragnipur itself, where he manages, with the help of the god Opon, to free the souls of the Hounds that were just killed, freeing them from eternal imprisonment. Shadowthrone, the master of the Hounds of Shadow, then appears and negotiates with Anomander Rake, and Rake enforces his will and tells Cotillion to stop possessing the soldier Sori. Sori, then once again having a will of her own, takes on the name Upsalar. Here I have to skip over a bunch of stuff which I don't have time for, but the next important thing is that Adjunct Lorne finds the Tomb of the Tyrant and actually finds the device with which the Tyrant is imprisoned, which is called a Finest. Lorne then makes her way back to the city and the Tyrant actually gets out of his tomb, where he is greeted by 4 dragons, which are the friends of Anomander Rake, and try to fight off the Tyrant. After a while, the Tyrant is then dragged into Krupe's dream, where he is fought by a Tlanimas. However, in the end he escapes and manifests inside the city of Darchistan, where a festival is happening. Long story short, the mages inside the city of Darchistan finally beat the Tyrant and imprisoned him once again into a house of the Azaf. The adjunct is then killed while attacking Crocus, but not by Crocus, and the bridge burners are officially declared outlaws of the Empire. And we don't get to know the reasons that they were outlawed at this time. So in the end, the assault on Darchistan has failed and it still stays independent. I hope this kind of made sense and cleared things up for you, but I had to leave out very big portions of the book because of the time constraint. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment so that I know that I should continue this series with the second book of the series, Deadhouse Gates. Thanks for watching.